Before I get this video started, I'll like to give a special thank you to the guys down at Toyota of Corvallis for allowing me to come down and review the 2019 Toyota RAV4 Limited. If you're interested in a new Toyota RAV4 or any of the other dependable Toyota models, be sure to hit them up and they'll be happy to get you into your next vehicle. What's going on? This is Big G from G Riders and welcome to another episode of Test and Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out the 2019 Toyota RAV4 Limited. Welcome to the 2019 Toyota RAV4. Introduced in the mid-90s, the Toyota RAV4 was one of the original pioneers of the compact size crossover. And here and now in its 5th generation, it is trying to reclaim what it originally was back in the 90s. A pretty compact, dependable, versatile crossover. This is the 2019 Toyota RAV4. This RAV4 and all RAV4s come standard with a direct injected 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder making 203 horsepower and 184 foot-pounds of torque. Since this is a small crossover, it does weigh about 3,600 pounds, but due to its clever 8-speed transmission and the smarter all-wheel drive system in this model, it does get 25 in the city and 33 out on the highway. And this vehicle is all-wheel drive, so that is pretty impressive. So the base Toyota RAV4 starts at about $25,500, and that is the front-wheel drive base model of the RAV4. This one is the range topper model of the RAV4, and this also has the Blizzard Pearl special paint on it, which is Toyota's beautiful white paint that comes on the loaded models. And this one starts at $35,000. And since this one has the Blizzard Pearl paint on it, this one and a couple other options, so it has like all-weather mats, some nice mud flaps. This one's about $36,000. And for $36,000, you're getting a lot of stuff. You're getting a pretty high quality, good riding, good driving, small crossover. Emphasis on small, typically with all the crossovers that have been coming out lately, typically every crossover has been bigger than the one replaced. But weird enough, this one is actually a little smaller than it was before. This is definitely smaller than the one they replaced, which is kind of good because the other one, I liked it. It was pretty big and comfortable, but honestly, it was kind of too big for the segment. Which, you know, it's not a bad thing, but I think that it's good that Toyota made the RAV4 a more compact package, because I believe they're probably going to slot another crossover in between this and the Highlander. Welcome to the walk-around tour of the 2019 Toyota RAV4. So let's start here in the front corner of the new RAV4, and let's take a look at the front. I really like the new front of the new RAV4. It looks pretty rugged. It looks like almost like a cross between, like, you know, RAV4s are previous, and also like it's a little 4Runner-y, which looks pretty cool. I like so this one does have full LED headlights here, no LED turn signals, and no LED fog lights, but I think that'd be something cool for them to add to like even higher trim if they decide to do like a platinum, and I know there's a TRD off-road RAV4 coming, which would be pretty cool. I do like the 19-inch wheels that come standard on this limited model. I think it looks pretty cool. And even though it's pretty rainy, pretty nasty out here in Corvallis, this Blizzard Pearl paint looks pretty awesome on this vehicle. Come around, take a look at the back. The back of the new RAV4, I think, is one of the biggest changes in styling, because it's a little bit more squarish and it's a little bit more SUV crossover-y, not soft like a car, which I like it quite a bit, you know. And I do like the little dual exhaust down at the bottom there. But as you can kind of see while I'm walking around it, the RAV4 does look visually smaller than the previous one, and that's because it is visually smaller than the previous one. Like, it does have pretty comparable cargo room and passenger room, but it's just they made it in a little bit smaller of a package, which again I've talked about. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna probably slot a crossover in between this and they're gonna slot another crossover between this and the Highlander here pretty soon. So the new Toyota keys shows you what model it is, and boom, boom. All right, let's go ahead and hop in. Welcome to the interior of the 2019 Toyota RAV4. When you first hop into the new RAV4, the first thing that you notice is this interior is much more modern than the one it replaces, which is better because this is the new generation. But everything is laid out way better and way simpler, and all the materials and the textures and everything that's used in this vehicle just feels a lot more modern than before, which is pretty nice. And it actually is quite upscale. Like everything that you touch and you feel is pretty nice and quality. Nice soft dashboard, nice little soft area up here where I rest my arm. The steering wheel feels nice. The shifter feels nice. The gauges look pretty good. I like that. I like the little half digital, half analog cluster that Toyota's going with this new RAV4 here. I think it looks pretty cool, and I believe they're definitely this cluster into a lot of their models now. And I like these big, huge knobs here for your climate control. They kind of got this little pattern on the outside, so you can just, so like when you're trying to touch it, you got some nice grip on it. There are quite a few buttons down here, but that's not that big of a deal. And then the heated seats controls are pretty simple down there. And you got your traction control, and then you got a blank button for something. Don't know what, but there is a blank button. So for the 2019 model year, Toyota has finally started putting Apple Carplay into their vehicle. Talking about iPhone in here. Yes, I have switched back to an iPhone, so you got your Apple CarPlay now, which is really nice. And then you got these, and so you got a nice little pocket here to store your phone, which, you know, that's one thing that a lot of the modern cars are doing nowadays. I'm really glad they're putting something like right here to store your phone, or like in some cars, it's like a wireless charger right there or something like that. Also, you got some little storage pockets up here in the front for the driver or the passenger or whoever needs to use it. And then pretty nice glove box, pretty nice size cup holders. And also, what I really like is, as you can see here, there's some nice stitching on the dash, and the stitching translates across the whole entire cabin, to the seats, to the door panels, everything. I think it looks pretty good, and I do like this silver trim. I'm glad that they didn't go with some fake chintzy wood or something like that. I think the silver trim here and the kind of the brown or burgundy kind of like colors that they got going on here work great for the vehicle and kind of just the overall feel of the cabin. It feels like a modern compact crossover, not like it should be, you know, and it belongs to a different brand. I like it quite a bit. So sunroof controls up top, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It has this one has the regular size sunroof, and I believe you can get the panoramic sunroof with some higher models. Also, let's talk about this little knob up here right next to the shifter, which I love this shifter. So this is basically kind of like your terrain management system. So this has stuff like the TRD off-road, like trucks and SUVs have. So this has like downhill descent control, and you can change from mud to sand. And this is pretty cool for a compact crossover to have this now. And I'm really glad that Toyota's kind of stepped their game up and kind of made this a more rugged, more SUV-ish crossover than car crossover. And that's the big thing with this new RAV4. It's more truck inspired, truck and SUV inspired versus car inspired, which I like pretty good. But it doesn't ride like that. It still rides like a car, but I'm glad that they just made everything more rugged and tough for this new model year. So backseat space is okay, and the trunk room is pretty decent. I'll put up the numbers for the cargo space here, but we're gonna go ahead and head on the road, since, as you can see, this weather is absolutely terrible here in Corvallis today. It's Oregon in spring. Some days is nice, some days is not, and when it's not, it looks like this. At least it isn't that cold. So alright, let's go ahead and head on the road and see how this thing drives. Welcome to the driving portion of the 2019 Toyota RAV4. Let's go ahead and hop on the road, see how this thing drives. First thing to do when you hop on the road, for me, that I always do, throw it in sport mode and do a quick little pull. So that's just like a little pull up to 60 miles an hour. You know, and honestly, that's actually not horrible. The RAV4 used to be a lot slower than this. Like, it's still nothing to write home about, or nothing great, or it's not a sports car or nothing. The quick one, from what I'm hearing, is the hybrid. And whenever Toyota Corvallis gets one in, I'm definitely going to take that one for a drive. But, you know, it's not bad for the regular gasoline model. And with this vehicle only having 203 horsepower and weighing 3,600 pounds, it's definitely not horrible. So the new RAV4 has a torque vectoring all-wheel drive system, which it's not dry enough for me to be able to test it, but from kind of like what I felt so far, it's pretty intuitive. Like, I definitely think that they should work on it a little bit more. to kind of get on the level of like something like the Mazda CX-5, but for the most part, it works pretty well. The new RAV4 is a very comfortable vehicle to drive. Like, it has a nice ride to it. It's really comfortable. It's a pretty good vision out of all the windows. I like the new little third windows that they have here now. A lot of vehicles are doing it, and I like it. And I like that the mirrors are mounted on the bottom part of the door, not at the top part of the door. This kind of gives you a little bit more visibility out the window here. The mirrors are nice and big, but you also have blind spot monitoring like you do on most modern vehicles nowadays. And the ride and the seating position is really commanding now in the new RAV4, because this one, like I was talking about before, this is more of a truck SUV type crossover at heart now versus a car at heart, and kind of you get that more commanding SUV driving position that you do in this vehicle. A couple things for me is I don't have a whole lot of headroom. Remember, guys, I'm over 6 feet tall and over 350 pounds, but I don't have that much headroom, but I have lots of rest of the room. Like, I can move my leg back and forth. I have plenty of leg room in the front here. Not as much leg room in the back as it used to be, but I believe the seats can recline and do all that stuff, all that cool stuff. And the mirror kind of obstructs my vision a little bit, but you know, with a lot of tall people in vehicles, I'm not even that tall, but I know a lot of tall people have that problem in modern cars. I can tell this vehicle is definitely designed and engineered for someone that is much shorter and smaller than I am, but that's not a bad thing. So the new RAV4 is definitely a quality product. Like, as you can hear, there's not a whole lot of road noise. The steering feel is pretty nice. Like, it's a small crossover, so it doesn't have to have the best steering ever. Like, you know, my favorite of the small crossover is the Mazda CX-5, and that's kind of like the standard for the small crossover in terms of sporty handling. And it's not too far off from that, which is a lot to say for a RAV4. One thing that Toyota have been working on, seems like, is they've been trying to make their cars way less boring than before. And I'm really glad that Toyota is doing that, because, you know, you pick Toyota's always the safe choice when looking at a vehicle. Like, it's going to be the most reliable, it's going to hold the best value, but it's not going to be fun to drive, fast, or anything like that. And I'm glad that Toyota is starting to work on kind of hitting some of those marks now too. I wouldn't say this vehicle handles as well as something like the Mazda CX-5, but it handles pretty nice. It's not soft or floaty or boaty. It feels pretty tight and pretty well put together. One cool thing about this is the new 8-speed transmission that comes in this vehicle. So this is similar to the 8-speed transmission that you find in the new Camry or any of the other like kind of modern Toyota products that have been designed in the last couple of years. And it's a pretty good transmission. Like, it's pretty smooth. There's never any like rough shifting or anything like that. It's very, very smooth. Toyota definitely have figured it out. It's figured it out in this vehicle, and I believe this transmission that they're using is pretty similar to some of the other 8-speeds that they've been using in Lexus products for the last like 5 or 6 years. So this finally trickled down to the Toyota models, and they got it figured out. It's nice and smooth and dialed in. So because this has the 8-speed transmission, you know, I'm cruising at 60 miles an hour here now at about 1500 RPM, which is pretty nice. So with those type of low cruising RPMs, get some pretty good fuel economy, and that's what allows this vehicle to get the 33 on the highway. Also, it knows that when it doesn't need the all-wheel drive system, just kept the front wheels going only, which is pretty typical, but that 33 on the highway with all-wheel drive is pretty good, considering a Camry gets probably only 5 to 6 miles per gallon, a little bit better, and this is a crossover, not a sedan with all-wheel drive, so that's pretty good. So where does the new RAV4 fit in the lineup of all the crossovers? I think that if you like something like the Honda CR-V, this is not the car for you, because this is a little bit smaller, it's a little bit more sporty, a little bit more compact than the Honda CR-V. I think this car kind of competes in line with vehicles like the Mazda CX-5, with the Ford Escape, with the Hyundai Tucson, vehicles like that, vehicles that kind of have a little bit more tighter, sportier feeling to it than a normal vehicle. Like if you are kind of cross-shopping this with the Rogue, you have to decide whether if you're cross-shopping this with like the Rogue or the Rogue or the CRV, you kind of need to go drive it, because this vehicle drives a lot different than those two vehicles does. Well, this is closer to the tight, agile handling of the Mazda CX-5 versus the soft Honda CRV, the soft Honda CRV and Nissan Rogue. So if you're kind of in the market for like something like the CX-5, definitely take a look at this model too, because I think this new RAV4 is gonna surprise you. It surprised me. Like I haven't driven this vehicle that hard, but I definitely can feel just in the way the steering and the way this vehicle is responding to bumps and corners that this is a pretty capable vehicle on the roads for sure. But if you want like a different type of ride, I have driven the Toyota RAV4 Adventure, and the Toyota RAV4 Adventure rides more like more of an off-road vehicle, so it's a little bit softer and has a little bit higher ride height, which is pretty cool. Like I'll put in like some clips of me driving that car, some clips of what that car looked like, the one that I reviewed. I would have posted that one, but I lost the driving portion, which is really annoying, but it's all right. Yeah, so like, look at like the steering's responded pretty well. Like it's pretty decent steering feel. I mean, it's a crossover, but like, it's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with this new RAV4. I'm glad that Toyota took the RAV4 and tore it down to the studs and kind of started from scratch, kind of with a different platform. And I think that it shows that Toyota put a lot more emphasis on better driving characteristics than it did before. And you know, that's just kind of the move that Toyota is moving towards, because a lot of the modern Toyota vehicles that I reviewed lately, like the new Camry, the new Corolla hatchback, I'm going to be doing the new Corolla sedan pretty soon. They're all it seems like they're all wanting to focus on a more engaging drive, and that's the one box that Toyotas haven't really checked before. And I'm really glad that they've really decided to do that, because this car, even though it's a smaller package than before, it makes it a more competitive vehicle in the market, because a lot of the people who are buying, you know, these type of crossovers are popular with a lot of demographics, but the main demographic that Toyota kind of wants to aim these at are millennials. So people that are in my age group. I'll be 26 here pretty soon, or 26 by the time this video goes out. So like, this is kind of aimed at people with active lifestyles who may need may need a vehicle with a little bit more ground clearance and a little bit more utility and all-wheel drive for different things. Even if you don't get the all-wheel drive one, just having the extra ground clearance and kind of the extra utility of having a small crossover is pretty nice. And I think that if Toyota wanted to sell these to millennials, they need to make it drive and handle better. And I definitely think they've checked off that box. I'm pretty impressed with with the way this drives. This definitely is. It's not as good as the CX-5 in handling, but I think it's right under. It's a close second to the Mazda CX-5 in terms of handling characteristics. So, if you're looking for a compact crossover, that is comfortable, easy, and fun to drive, and looks pretty cool, you should definitely take a look at the 2019 Toyota RAV4. Whether that is the base model or this range topping limited, the Toyota RAV4 is a comfortable, good-looking, fun-to-drive, small crossover. So if you like this video, hit me with a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, keep riding me. Thanks for watching.